Hi folks, welcome this evening to the Rangers Rabble. Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah, it's midweek pod. Joined this evening by Wilf, Scotty and Colin. Gents, how are we all?
Good, thanks.
Fine,
fantastic.
Scotty, paying
So
attention.
good.
You paying attention to me? You paying attention to me now, yeah?
Who? You?
Yeah. Because I just tried to talk to you before we came on and you completely ignored me, so I just wanted to make sure you were there. Big hello to everybody in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending your Tuesday night with us, talking about Rangers as we love to do. Few people in the comments already. Larry, early for the party. Yeah, you were early, quite 10 minutes early. Aldo as well, the newest member of the Rabble team. Welcome along, Aldo. Thanks for joining in. Get your questions and your comments in. Keep them coming in. Whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about, as long as it's within reason and about Rangers, because we couldn't really talk about much else between the four of us, to be honest. And I'll do the shameless Patreon plugs later. I better get them in at some point, or the boss won't be happy. So,
sorry, Alan, can I ask Larry, where is he? Because it's Tuesday morning for him, so he's obviously not in the UK.
Where are you, Larry? Oh yeah, there you are. Tuesday morning for me, boss. So, International Rangers Rabble. The International Rangers Rabble we get watched for all over the world now. Folks, thanks for tuning in. To say, get your
I
questions
still think we should have done a live pod from Dortmund. I think that would have been a hell of a lot of fun. Perhaps not by the time I turned up and saw you, Alan.
What was wrong with me?
I think you were well
oiled. Maybe. I'm not going to say too much. My missus will be watching this later. But anyway, actually, just one of the things Scotty wanted to talk about, just talking about Dortmund. Wilf, how much coffee do you drink?
A fair bit, aye.
Guzzling coffee like I was guzzling pints.
But that's the thing, you see, you can only drink, I've stopped drinking fizzy juice and you can only drink so much water, you're never off the toilet, so I have to drink something. I can't sit in a pub without a drink in front of me because it just doesn't feel right. So
Is this why you're constantly running marathons and you're able to run from the stadium back to the town centre in 10 minutes? It took me an hour and a half.
It's funny you should mention because I've got a cup of coffee just here just now.
There's no training involved whatsoever. There's no train for it. It's just.
Well, I do. Oh, believe me, you need to train for those things you need to train for.
It's Trolley and Kenko.
Anyway, let's start talking about Rangers. Never mind me drinking coffee.
Anyway, yeah, we're here to talk about the Rangers. So, don't want to spend too long talking about the Dundee United game, guys, because we had a match reaction in that, but we're going to talk about it just briefly to get us kicked off. Colin, I'll come to you first. Dundee United, like me, did you think we were unlucky?
Yeah, but at the same time, well, up till the equaliser, I didn't think it was coming at all. And then you had that kind of 10 minutes of we're going to win it, and it kind of just fizzled out a wee bit in the end. So I don't know. It seems like a recurring trend this season that they go a goal down, panic, struggle for half an hour, and then get the one goal. So they obviously did deserve to win, but it was just a bit concerning when they went behind.
Yeah. Ewan, we're going to come on to the Dortmund game just shortly. Just got a couple of things we're going to chat about first. Yeah, I felt like we had enough chances to win 2 or 3 games, to be honest, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. We were unlucky at times. Scotty, a man we're going to come on to speak to, Diallo. We're not going to come on to speak to him. We're going to talk about him. Diallo, fine margins between hero and villain at Rangers, isn't it? Because if he had buried that chance that he hit off the post, it would have been a hero getting us the winning goal in that game, but he didn't. He hit the post, and he's an absolute villain for not squaring the ball to Sakala. Sorry, I don't know if it's coming across in the podcast, but the big light in my ceiling has just started flickering and buzzing, and it's really off-putting. So apologies if that's coming through. I've clearly got an electrical fault somewhere. Scotty. So Diallo, hero and villain, fine lines.
It's the nature of the beast in football, isn't it? But he's 4 games into his Rangers career. I'm guilty of it myself sometimes, with a bit of hysteria. I do it with John Lundstrom. For me, he's not out of the woods just yet, and he's 10, 15, 20 games in. So we'll see. Got to be patient. It's interesting you mentioned luck on Sunday, and I'm a firm believer that you make your own luck. I think we lacked quality up top. I think there was a lack of focus because you can point to an inspired goalkeeping performance and say, right, okay, yeah, Seagrass played really well done to him, but it was poor finishing.
Yeah.
And unlucky, perhaps, because we could have come across a goalkeeper that wasn't so inspired, but we should be bearing those chances anyway. And it doesn't really matter what happens prior to that moment in play. If you're not sticking in the back of the net, we might as well not create any chances whatsoever. Disappointing game, but we move on. I think we did play very well in large parts, but we lack the quality. I think it's almost been a recurring theme this season, albeit we haven't actually dropped that many points. And guys like Diallo are coming in with obviously a huge reputation behind them, albeit the reputation is back on the back of a huge transfer fee rather than what he's actually shown on a football pitch to the footballing world thus far. So he's got the expectation, but has he actually got that final quality? Well, I don't think so. Otherwise, we're playing for Manchester United. But he's got all the tricks and all the, I suppose, the knowledge how to play football. But he's not the finished article. When we're coming onto that chance, and we talk about that chance where he hits the post, absolutely fine margins. But he could have stuck that away, and he could have been the hero. But he wasn't meant to be for him at that stage. But we definitely need to up the quality back to what it was on Thursday.
Yeah, Sharpie, I'll just bring it back up there, Sharpie. I think because we beat Dortmund on Thursday, we thought we would beat Dundee United easily on Sunday. Well, I think there maybe was a very small element of that. We tend to do that at Rangers when we have a big result. We think we're going to steamroll over the top of our next opponents. But personally, I thought we should have beat Dundee United easily on Sunday because we outclassed them in every department.
Yeah, I don't agree with that comment at all. I mean, I don't think we thought we just had to turn up. I mean, on another day we win that game 5 or 6-1. The chances that we had. I mean, I haven't watched it back. I was at Tannery, so I haven't watched it back. So I can't say how well Seagrass played. To me, I don't think Seagrass really made a lot of saves. They were just throwing their bodies in front of the ball and they were clearing them off the line and all this sort of stuff. I didn't think he was that inspired, the United goalkeeper. On another day, we would have scored a bundle of goals, but we didn't. And if it was in isolation, if that was an away draw in isolation, it'd be one of those things. But it's not. I mean, the away form is now becoming a thing because that's the last away win was something like the 12th of December at Tynecastle after we came back from Lyon. So I'm not buying all this European hangover nonsense because the last away win was at Tynecastle when we came back from Lyon. You know, it's just, I mean, Ross County. Okay, individual mistakes by McGregor, and I know we're going to come on to the goalkeeper. Individual mistakes by him cost us that game. Aberdeen were just terrible. Across the city, we'll not talk about that. That really was awful. So the away form for me is now becoming a thing. I mean, you can't take 3 points out of 12 away from home and expect to go on and win titles. You really can't. I mean, there's been a 9-point swing recently, and it's the 9 points we've dropped away from home. And it is becoming a thing. And the Dundee United, we should have had enough to close that game out without any question. Some of the chances we missed were ludicrous, and that's why Diallo's getting it in the neck. I mean, I'm giving him it in the neck because, I mean, when he hit the post, he had to square it to Sakala. Sakala's got a tap in. If you're not squaring that, you have to score. But I mean, I can probably forgive him for that because that's just one of those things. But what I can't forgive him for is the fact that he shot out of a tackle. He absolutely shot out of a 50-50. And then when he thought he was offside, he didn't chase a ball down. First thing you're told when you play football as a kid, play the whistle. Chase the ball. If the referee blows the whistle, stop running. You know, and he didn't do that. I mean, he's a young guy. He's got a lot to learn. I'm beginning to think it was a really, really strange loan because he's not got the physicality for Scotland, and I don't think he fancies the physicality of Scotland. I mean, he scored 2 goals yesterday in a bounce game with Brentford, which is great, but it's a bounce game with Brentford. There'd be no physicality in that game, I wouldn't imagine. You know, and it seems to me it's a very, very strange loan deal because he's got the tricks and he's proved that. He's proved he's got ability. But in Scotland, you need a bit more ability. You need a massive heart. You need to be able to go into challenges. And I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder why he bothered coming up here. Why anybody thought putting a guy that's built like a negative on loan in Scotland's a good idea. I just can't get my head around it at all.
Yeah, I've got to agree. And the bounce game, I was going to mention that, Colin. The bounce game yesterday, was that just bizarre that we played that game? I often listen to Talk Sport. I heard them last week talking about getting closed door games to give Ericsson some minutes, which is fine. I understand that.
Yeah.
But even for our squad, Colin, have we just not got enough games coming up that we could be doing without these?
It actually totally passed me by that it was on until I saw a couple of pictures in the match report from it. I looked at the starting lineup and some of it made sense, I suppose. Like quite a lot of the young players got a game, but there was people like Glenn Kamara who's maybe not played as much in the last couple of games, but he was starting as well. So I can see it from some of the fringe players' perspectives. But it is a bit of a strange time during the season, I suppose.
Yeah,
I think it purely is because if you highlight Glenn Kamara, he's how many minutes has he played in the last three or four matches? He hasn't obviously played much minutes, and it's all about keeping the players sharp. If you don't have the first team games, then it's okay. We can argue how effective are B team games in terms of keeping player sharpness, but you've got to try something. And I think while we're still going through that transition phase of moving away from Gerrard style to Gio style, you've got to almost force the transition and speed the process up, because we are now actually starting to see a huge difference in how we're playing and the patterns of play. Guys like Jack Simpson, all of a sudden we're now starting to see them at left back. Probably doesn't have the physicality to play centre back, but are we going to see something like what we witnessed with Papac? Papac came as a centre back, played at left back, all of a sudden renaissance as a footballer. I don't think lightning can particularly strike twice in that scenario, but getting guys like Leon King in, Alex Lowry, these aren't guys that are youth team players playing with the first team. These guys are now treated as first team players, and they need first team minutes or the equivalent of. And if Brentford are going to come up and bring a strong side, and I'm sure there would have been some form of discussion around the type of game that we're going to play, with guys like Christian Eriksen, you're absolutely going to jump at the chance to play in these kind of games. If Brentford came up, I don't know if Nathan Young-Keem's played or whatever, but I know he's a youth player on the verge of the first team as well. So it'll be a similar game for them. They'll be wanting to get the minutes in the legs of the players that they think can still contribute to the second half of their season, and that's what we need to do. So we'll probably see a few more, to be honest, as the season goes on, right up until the end. And if we've got like a Dutch football expert or an international football expert, it might actually be something that's quite common on the continent.
Kept it very quiet though. I didn't see it mentioned anywhere before. It just kind of popped up that it happened.
But
Yeah,
that's the way these games should be, because they're behind closed doors. You're always going to get people that are going to want to watch them.
Sneak up.
So they don't want people converging on the training centre saying, "Look, can I get in to see the game or whatever?" But
that makes sense.
Allan, as Scotty says, I think it probably was a worthwhile exercise given the personnel that played in the game. And Scotty, Nathan Young-Coombs did play. He came off the bench, I believe. So it'd be nice to see him back up the road. But these games have got to be beneficial, because you're not getting a lot of players aren't getting a lot of miles in their legs. Particularly because of how the season's now going. We're not even in the situation where we can say, well, we'll put 4 or 5 kids on the bench and we'll give them minutes when the games are put to bed, because the season's getting too tight for that. We're in a title race for the first time in however many, 10 years or whatever it is, 10, 11 years. So you can't even afford to be doing that. So you need to get these guys game time just to put miles in their legs, if nothing else, and to see what they're capable of.
Well, if these bounce games are worthwhile exercises, and I hope it is. I hope everything we try comes off for us. is this going to be the answer to stopping this rot, or what is the answer to stopping this rot away from home? Is it getting people marked sharp in these games, getting them into playing minutes so that we can try different things away from home? Because we clearly need to try something different.
I don't know if we need to try something different. I mean, as I said earlier, Ross County, 2 goalkeeping mistakes cost us that game. Dundee United on Sunday, it was poor finishing and their desire to get in front of the ball. I mean, I don't think Dundee United will work as hard as that in a game for the next 3 or 4 seasons. They just threw themselves in front of everything. You know, I don't know what the answer is, but the away form is becoming a thing. Teams seem to have worked us out away from home. I mean, you know, somebody said earlier about teams scoring against us, and it's getting easy to score against us, particularly away from home, because all they do is they get a corner and throw it into the 6-yard box. Because Allan McGregor's like a beauty keeper, he won't come off his line. You know, so they throw.
We'll talk about that.
No, you're coming to that. They'll just throw balls into the 6-yard box, and if our defenders don't get it, they've got to dig at the goal. Okay, Griggs really good at shot stopping, but from that close range, they've got a hell of a chance of scoring. That's all they're doing. The teams aren't outplaying us. They're playing for set plays and loading the box and seeing what happens. And they know if there's anything contentious drops in the box, they know you'll be talking about this as well. The chances are they'll get the decision.
Yeah. I totally agree. But we've not been. I don't think we've been outplayed. I'm just trying to think in the last couple of away games, other than that midweek disaster a few weeks ago. We've not been outplayed. It's just about grinding these results out now, because
I think the biggest frustration is, if you look at our biggest away game in the last 2 months, we just went and beat one of the best teams in Europe 4-2, and the individual errors in that game were almost non-existent. And then if you compare it to the individual errors that when we're coming up in the SPFL, you know, is it a mentality thing? No, it's not. I think it's just a concentration thing. I think when we coast games as much as we do domestically, because without being disrespectful, we are a superior team to the rest of the league, we do tend to switch off. Whereas coming up against Dortmund, we're on it for 90 minutes.
Yeah, but Scott, coming up against Dortmund trying to play football against us, Dortmund are a good side. They came out and they attacked us. I mean, Dundee United made, especially the last half an hour on Sunday, they made no attempt to even get out of their own half. All they wanted to do was kick the ball clear and put everybody behind the ball. We've struggled for years and years and years to break down the 11-man defences, and that's exactly what happened on Sunday. And we got behind them, we just couldn't score. Whereas in Dortmund last Thursday, they kept coming at us. I mean, the goals we scored, they were great goals. I mean, the third goal was just out of this world.
Yes,
the players have got space to play. Whereas I think they get frustrated when they're up against, you know, all these tight defences. I mean, Rangers seem to want to play a counter-attacking game. You can't counter-attack against an 11-man defence.
I genuinely don't think we looked at that game against Dundee United and we struggled to make chances. We have fucking fuckloads of chances. Every single away game that we've drawn, we have had a shitload of chances. I think the only one perhaps where we didn't have as many chances as we should was the one that we lost against Dundee United earlier in the season. And I mean, Sunday was just ridiculous. I just put that down to poor finishing, lack of quality in front of goal. And do you know what? Actually, where was Roof?
He's on the bench, I think.
Roof was on the bench on Sunday.
Yeah. I think for Defoe in that game's maybe useful in terms of picking up the scraps.
Well, Defoe's no good to us now. He's in Sunderland.
No, I mean a player like Defoe, because like.
Well, Roof. I think
useful.
So I was very surprised that Roof didn't come on Sunday. I expected, particularly with Alfie being on a yellow card, I expected Roof to come on with about 15 to go.
And I think part of Roof's game isn't necessarily, I mean, he sometimes does force to do it, but he's so quick in and around the ball in the box when the ball drops. That's what he's really, really good at. He's almost a poacher. He's not quite to the level of Defoe. And the amount of balls that were dropping in the 6-yard box in the penalty area in that game, he would have got on the end of one of them. And we've seen him do it time and time again, particularly when it counts. And he did it last season. I was a little bit surprised that no one's actually mentioned it.
You know what, Alan? You know what really frustrated me about the second half on Sunday. The second half we were all over them like a cheap suit, right? But what really frustrated me was their centre backs were both on yellow cards, and we never ran at them once. And we do it all the time. We're far too honest. Just run at them because they can't challenge it. No, because if the challenger gets it wrong, they know they're getting sent off. And okay, one of them should have been sent off for the pull on Sakala that for some reason the officials missed. But we spent 45 minutes with both their centre backs on yellow cards. We didn't go near them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was. We'll come to the Sakala thing as well. It's part of another discussion, but yeah, it's a strange thing. Scotty was saying about, Colin, you were talking about Roof, the ball's dropping him in the box and that. But Morelos has got on the end of them as well. He couldn't. It does come down to luck sometimes. He just wasn't in the right position. The ball fell the wrong way. I think sometimes we do need to say, you know what, we were a bit unlucky at times today. We hit the post, we hit the bar. We should have beat them. We should have buried them. But sometimes some of the shots we were taking, as well says, their keeper never had a fantastic game, but the balls were just hitting off him and coming back out.
Alan, as I said, in isolation, that's one of those games.
Yeah.
But because it's the fourth away game in a row we haven't won, it's now becoming a thing. Had we, forget about what happened in the East End, but had we beat Aberdeen and beat Ross County and then that happened on Sunday, well, it's one of those things. These things happen in football. Mm-hmm. But it's now becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And until we start winning well away from home, it's going to continue to be a thing.
And we need to get over that. We need to. And what's the next away game? Is it St Johnstone next week?
Johnstone next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday night. That's going to be I think that's going to be a massive game in our season, because we're either going to win and it's going to be a turning point for these away games, or it's maybe going to be the trend will continue and we'll really struggle to get out of this slump away from home. Just on, you mentioned the Sakala incident there. Again, I put it down to luck. It was what is Walsh right, as an isolated incident, as an isolated game, we can put it down to luck. Colin, though, it was quite clear we should have had 2 penalties, at least. The foul on Jack should have resulted in a red card, and there was a question mark over whether or not there was a foul on Haaland into their goal. VAR, how quickly do you need to get us in Scotland?
One of my pals I watched the Dortmund game with made the point, basically, that game would have been 2 each if it was in the league. So, like, the offside goal that was given and then the penalty. So it does show you the difference, just 2 games in a row in terms of the result.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. Actually, you're right. If we were playing them in the league, the Scottish referees would never have gave those 2 decisions in Rangers' favour. So you're right. It does just go to show. Scotty, I don't know if you saw it or not, but an old friend of Rangers, although he wouldn't admit that now, Jim White, has suggested, I don't know if it was a tongue-in-cheek comment, I've read it, I've not heard it, that Rangers and Celtic should pay for VAR in Scotland and the other clubs shouldn't have to fork any of the money. Is that just as ridiculous as it sounds?
God, who put a penny in him? Rent a gob. Why? This is look. We've like the way that Scottish football is governed is archaic, to say the least. I don't. Just because you've got 2 football clubs that are large in stature does not make them responsible for the rest of Scottish football. And if that is the case, then give these 2 football clubs the power to be responsible in Scottish football. I mean, clearly he's not exactly the sharpest tool in the box. So, yeah, anyway. No, it should be up to the SPFL, the SFA. They have the finances. I don't believe for a second that they don't. When they can pay their executives £400,000 a year for the privilege of governing our game and look at the state of it, then yeah, they can fork out VAR for the rest of the Scottish football clubs. I mean, they could start by actually holding Sky to some account for the coverage of Scottish football. But they don't, because they don't care. They've got an easy life. Yeah, I mean, that's where we should start. But yeah, the inclusion of VAR is necessary.
Yeah, I think you're right. And on the Sky issue as well, we could get more money, but Sky don't care if they lose Scottish football or not, let's face it. They care about losing the Old Firm game. They don't care about Scottish football. But just to go back to VAR, a lot of supporters of a lot of other clubs think we'd be terrified of VAR in Scotland. And it's probably because they see those three words so often, penalty to Rangers. But in actual fact, if VAR was in Scottish football this season alone, how many incidents do you think would have went our way that went against us?
Right, this is the time of the pod where you guys can go and get yourself a coffee and just leave me to it, because I've got a lot to say on this. Right, but first of all, right, VAR isn't going to cure all the problems in Scottish football. I mean, the two decisions we're talking about from Sunday, right, shouldn't need VAR to get them right. The handball's blatant. I mean, I'm 40 yards away looking across the pitch at it from the front of the fair play stand, and it's handball all day. The linesman's right in line with it. The Sakala one at the time, I didn't see it, but I've seen a still of it, and the linesman's looking straight at it. Right? The match officials shouldn't be missing them. We need better match officials. Same on Thursday. What that linesman thought he saw in Dortmund on Thursday for the fourth goal, I've got absolutely no idea. But because VAR was there, VAR puts it right. And the handball, nobody saw it apart from the VAR guy, which is fine. You can't blame the ref for that. So yes, we need VAR, and we would benefit from it, but so would everybody else. You know, I mean, taking the Dundee United game as an isolated incident of what everybody's talking about. Okay, we would probably have had 2 penalties because of the handball and the pullback on Sakala, right? Mulgrew could and probably should have been sent off for the assault on Arfield's ankle. Jack was probably lucky, having seen his tackle. VAR would probably have sent him off for that. The guy that pulled Sakala would have been sent off. So it would have worked for and against both sides. And that's the way it will work. I don't see why people are saying it will benefit Rangers, because it will benefit everybody. But the bottom line is the officials need to be better. You shouldn't need VAR for those decisions they got wrong on Sunday. They were just inept. Just absolutely inept. And when we go back to the Scottish point about Sky, the Scottish Football Authorities aren't going to take Sky to task because they agreed the deal. They agreed to sign that deal for what, 2 and 6 in a bag of balls. You know what I mean? That they pay for Scottish football. You know, but you're right. I think the Scottish authorities can afford VAR. They keep trotting out that the way these stadiums are, some of these stadiums are configured. They don't have the anchor points for the cameras so that VAR would work consistently in all the stadiums. Well, it's quite simple. If you haven't got the available space at your stadium, don't be in the league. You know what I mean? Let's take St Mirren, for example, right? And I'm only picking them out because it's a fairly small ground. If St Mirren are saying we don't have the available areas to position the cameras, what happens if they get into Europe next season? And they're in the group stages and UEFA say, well, we're putting VAR in. Oh, we can't have VAR. They wouldn't let them play in it. It's as simple as that. So if it's down to the camera positions, either make sure you can fit them in or get out the league. Simple as that. It's not a financial thing, I don't feel like. They keep telling us it's not financial anyway. And if it is financial, find the money, because Scottish football is a joke. It's the only one of the top 15 leagues in Europe that don't have VAR. The Israeli league's got it. Their average stadium capacity is about 6,000, and they've got VAR. Their TV deals are negligible, but they've got VAR. Scottish football's turning into an absolute joke.
Yeah, and the point you made there about the stadiums not being up to scratch, you're absolutely right. You give them a time frame, you give them a year, 2 years, you've got to have VAR in by X amount of time. And if it's not to standard, you're out of the league. Remember, was it Falkirk never got promoted a few years back? Maybe about 20 years ago now. Won the championship or the old first division. Sorry, your stadium's not up to scratch. You're spending another year in that league. So it can be done. They've set the example there.
I think they also used to have a rule that if you didn't have undersoil heating, you couldn't be in the league as well.
Yeah, but then they let teams in with plastic pitches.
Well, do you know what the teams did? They ended up installing undersoil heating, but not turning it on because it was too expensive to run.
Yep.
Fucking hopeless.
Yep. I mean, they also
Scotland.
When Inverness came up, they also forced them to play at Aberdeen. When Gretna came up because their stadium wasn't up to scratch, they played at Motherwell.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's precedent for it. If the ground's not good enough, sorry, you shouldn't be in the league. Simple as that.
So anyway, I think we're all in agreement that VAR needs to come in. And remember, VAR is there. We were always told, Colin, that it was here to, or it was getting used to stop or clear and obvious chances, clear and obvious mistakes that were missed by the officials. For example, the 2 penalties. We're not talking, and this is the bad side of VAR. We're not talking about, his toenail was playing me on side. I think we need to remember that we're not talking about these wee stupid decisions that we do see getting made down in England, but it's for the bigger picture.
Yeah, you don't want to see it every 2 minutes, and you don't want it slowing down the pace of the game. And I think what we spoke about on Sunday and what Will said, it is about who's controlling the technology rather than the technology itself. But I don't think Rangers and Celtic paying for it is a solution, because A, it's not fair, and B, if Rangers and Celtic get all the decisions that VAR gives them, then there could be accusations that because they're paying for it, they're getting an unfair advantage.
But surely in this corporate day and age, if they're saying it's a financial thing, get somebody to sponsor it. Surely there'll be a big company who'll come in every time there's a VAR decision. You'll get your company name on the TV screen where it says VAR in operation, or on the stadium boards that says VAR in operation. You'll get your company's name on it. Companies would jump at that. That's because they wouldn't need to pay a lot for it. And that's massive exposure.
You're right. If they needed to find the money, they would find the money.
Yeah, and every club's paying the same as well. So it's not like it's not like it's going to heavily impact St Mirren or Motherwell or anybody else, because it's impacting everybody the same. But anyway, that's enough about VAR, because I don't really like talking about it that much. We are going to move on, folks. Before we move on, though, thank you again for joining us this evening. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Head over to Patreon and catch our stuff out as well. I've got to say it, Martin would kill me if we didn't say it. But there's loads of content on Patreon. There's loads of content going to be coming your way. Starting a new series. We're starting recording a new series tomorrow, Walter's Way, talking about Walter Smith's first period in charge at the club. So really looking forward to that. Wilf, are you involved in that?
I am.
You are. I think I am as well, actually. Yeah, I am. So you'll see me and Wilf and a couple of other guys on that. Scotty's not been asked to take part in it because we don't really like him.
Scotty's far too young for that.
I was born the year Walter joined Rangers, so I've got the DVD knowledge, but not the in-person knowledge.
Yeah, Walter Smith's first full year in charge, 1991. I went to my first game then. That was we drew with Dundee United at Ibrox, so can vaguely remember the start of it. But really looking forward to reminiscing about Walter Smith's time leading us to 9 in a row. So yeah, head over to Patreon and catch all of that.
I believe, Allan, there's also a rather good interview with a new Rangers author, David Herd, for his book 1872, which comes out next Tuesday. I believe that's on the Patreon just now, and it's dropping on YouTube tomorrow at noon, I believe. I can't remember who did the interview. I think it might have been me.
I was going to ask you. There's you and Sane join up as Patreon. It's well worth a couple of quid. Thank you for your support, you, and we appreciate it. So yeah, but for the time being, remember and hit the like button on YouTube, subscribe to us. That doesn't cost a thing. But the more you hit these things, the more you support the Rangers rabble, and we really appreciate all the support we get. Because if it wasn't for you guys and girls tuning in and watching us and listening to us talk about Rangers, we wouldn't be here. We'll move on. So we've mentioned it a couple of times, but we are going to talk about our goalkeeper, Allan McGregor.
That's heavy, mate.
Yeah, I don't know why that keeps coming up. Wilf, Allan McGregor, let's talk about... So Thursday marks 20 years since his debut, so let's talk about his time at Rangers and his career for a couple of minutes before we go and talk on about more recent things. How big a servant has McGregor been for us? He's
been terrific. He's been a terrific servant for us. We'll gloss over the way that he left, because there is a story behind that, but nobody knows what it is because he hasn't told anybody. But he will, I think, in time. That left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. The way that he left. No, I mean he was obviously going to leave. It was just a bit, but that was all just a mess, and we'll kind of gloss over that. But no, he's been a phenomenal servant to us. Shot stopping is arguably second to none. But as I said earlier, his only flaw is he's like a beauty keeper. He doesn't come out and command his box, and that's become. I mean, he did it occasionally. He does it less and less. He hardly does it at all now. But I mean, his shot stopping incredible. He likes a penalty save. He likes to terrorise fullbacks, his own fullbacks usually. I mean, Sasa Papac must have nightmares about Allan McGregor screaming at him. Because I mean, it's you just, but terrific servant, but he's beginning to show his age a bit now, I think.
I think we'll see two things when he eventually retires. I think we'll see him. We'll hear what happened and the story behind him leaving and 10 years ago. But I also think we might see him smile at some point. So not sure that it's an outside chance, but it's there. Colin, I'll remember. You'll probably remember when McGregor was coming in. He had some pretty big shoes to fill. He essentially replaced
easy.
Yeah, he essentially replaced Stefan Klos. But he paid his, he served his apprenticeship as well. He went out on loan. He worked under people like Klos and Ronald Vatras for a brief period as well. So he hung about. It would have been easy for a young goalkeeper to say, you know what, I'm going to go and play my football somewhere else.
So when I first got into football, would have been about 2002. I remember him as the number 2 to Klos, and then obviously it was St Johnson and Dunfermline they went on loan to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was struggling to get in the team. Some of my best memories are the Braven save in 2008, and the penalty save against, I think it was Nackham? No, it was Samaras. There was a Samaras one, wasn't there?
Yeah. See, he's just gone and ruined the next bit. How am I supposed to think up new bits now? Sorry, mate. Carry on.
I'll stop. I'll stop there. That was just the first thing that came to mind. But last season I generally didn't ever think we were going to let in a goal, and that was the case for a lot of the season. You were just so much confidence in him last season that he wasn't going to be beaten.
Yeah, last season probably was one of his best seasons. Scotty, Colin mentioned a couple of games there. The 2008 campaign, the 2008 European campaign. He was obviously injured come the end of that, and I'm not having a slate at Alexander, or I'm not saying he done anything wrong or cost us anything. So please don't criticise me for that. But coming towards the end of that season, we dropped some crucial points. We lost the UEFA Cup final. Do you think Allan McGregor might have made the difference?
Do you know what? When we were talking on WhatsApp earlier, you say, right, okay, well, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about Allan McGregor, and you're also going to talk about or mention one of your favourite bits or one of your favourite saves or something that he's done.
I missed this because I was late in.
One of the things that I was thinking about is his influence. Wilf, you touched on it earlier. Like he's a really angry man. You don't want to let him down because, like, if you think how angry he's at you in front of 50,000 people, what's he going to be like when he's only got 10 people holding him back? He's trying to get at you in the dressing room. Absolutely no chance. You don't want to let him down. And it does make a huge difference. He's so vocal, and there's no way that you're not hearing him. We heard last season behind closed doors, and you hear the sound bites. All you hear is McGregor shouting at people. He's a very angry man. And I firmly believe that, Neil Alexander, quality goalkeeper, but McGregor would have made a difference. I'm convinced. I actually think he saves. I can't remember it's either the first or the second. I think it's the first goal that he saves. I've just got to. I don't know. I just look at it, and he saved us so many times that season. Was it that season as well that he saved? I think we went on to lose the game anyway, but he saved a McDonald penalty in the last minute or something with a broken ankle. It was just like incredible. And I'd love to know the stats if anyone's got them out there of how many penalties he's actually saved while playing for Rangers. Dozens, absolutely dozens.
You rightly say he's an angry man. Somebody's made the. Curry once has made it in the comments. He doesn't seem as angry. There's been spells this season when doesn't seem that bothered at all. Compared to the way that he normally is. I'm not saying he's not bothered. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he's not. He hasn't been chasing out after defenders, blaming everybody and screaming in their faces for certain games. you know. But then he's kind of come back and he's doing it again. It's a strange one, but over the time he's been with us, I mean, in the 20 years since he made his debut 20 years ago on Thursday, as you rightly say, obviously he went away for a few years, but he's been an absolutely tremendous servant. I mean, he's right up there. He's probably the second or third best goalkeeper we've had in the modern era.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, we're going to pretend Colin never ruined it. I want everybody to tell me, including the guys that are on the night, I want everybody to tell me their favourite Allan McGregor moment. I'm going to go first so that I can get the one that I really want. And it's the Samaras penalty save for me. And do you know what?
You're not allowed to say that one.
It was not just the Samaras penalty save. Was it Vladimir Weiss with the title celebrations was taking the piss out the Samaras title save a couple of weeks later when we won the title? So for me, hands down, yeah, that's such an important save.
And that's another thing. That was never a penalty as well.
No, if only we had VAR. So, Wilf, favourite Allan McGregor moment?
Right, well, if I can have one from his first spell and one from this spell, one from the first spell's got to be the save in Bremen. I mean, that was just... I was lucky enough to be in Bremen that night, and I've got no idea how he saved that. I was right behind the goal, no idea how he saved it, not a clue. Brilliant save. And the one from this year was against our good friends from the East End, when he tipped the ball onto the post and went out for a corner, and he tried to pretend he didn't actually touch the ball. Any other goalkeeper would be saying, "Look at me, what a save that was!" And he's trying to tell the ref it's not a corner.
Was that Griffiths?
Yeah, the one from Griffiths. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a world class save. He tried to say he didn't make. That's Allan McGregor. You know what I mean? That's just incredible.
Colin, don't want to put you in the spot, but you got any special memories of McGregor?
I just like to defend myself one more time. The only thing I saw in the schedule was his name. I didn't know there was a backing story to that. There was the
Colin. I didn't know there was an agenda, so don't worry about it.
No. Panic. No, I wasn't in that chat until like.
No. I was talking to Wilf.
All right.
You're forgiven. I mean, aside from already naming about 200 saves he's made, and then these two above me naming all their saves, I don't know what ones I'm left with.
Do you want to go first then? So I don't steal your.
No. You carry on. I'll see if I can.
Oh, we want to make Scotty last.
Is it just one thing? Yeah, not two things.
Whatever
there was a say. Was it last season? There was he made two really amazing saves. One from a header and one from a rebound. It was in one of the European games last season. That's probably it there, Prague.
Could have been the Prague game that Michael's mentioned, yeah.
And just as an additional one, when he kicked the hip, was it the Hibs player he kicked? When he kicked.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Kicked up, and then he caught him.
Not that we condone violence. We don't condone violence, yeah.
That's what it.
The second spell and Andy Halliday, and he tells the story of Griggsy after he's been sent off and he's coming in the dressing room. He goes, "Oh, absolutely raging, man. Didn't touch it. We've got the screens. It shows the replay." Halliday looks at him. No, it was Steven Gerrard that looked at him and went, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Scotty, anything sticking out for you as a top McGregor?
I mean,
moment?
I can't believe it's not been mentioned. Oh, it has. Away at Slavia Prague. So he did that double save this season at home to Sparta Prague. But that save in the last minute against Slavia Prague, and I know he didn't go through in the end, but that is possibly... I've no idea how a 40-year-old man can get down there and not put his back out and hold on to the ball. Absolutely incredible. Talking about another, obviously, Wilf, you mentioned the Bremen one. Still have no idea how he saved that and how it's not even talked about anymore. Not by Rangers fans, but in the wider footballing spectrum, because you look back and he's got absolutely no right to even come close to that. And then obviously his first spell, loads of penalties. That penalty that he saved after he injured his ankle at Parkhead, again, that was just another fantastic moment. He's just an unbelievable goalkeeper. And for me, Wolf, we've actually talked about this before on a pod, haven't we? Where do we rank our goalkeepers? I can't remember what I said, but you know, the longer time goes on, the longer he sticks in goals, he's can't be far off being number one. I know, Wolf. I know.
And if it does, if it does finish this season, which a lot of people think it will, here's hoping it ends with another league titles winners medal, because he deserves it. So we're all in agreement. Allan McGregor is an absolute Rangers legend. Nobody disagrees with that. I'm saying that for the comments. Please do not slaughter us for what we're going to talk about next. But Wolf, his current form needs to improve. Is that being kind?
As I said earlier, Alan, he's like a beauty goalkeeper. He just won't come off his line. Shot stopping's fine, but hardly anybody takes shots again. I mean, okay, the 2 goals in Bremen last week in Bremen and Dortmund last week were shots, but I mean they were world-class finishes from world-class football players. You can't blame them for those. But generally speaking, teams don't particularly shoot against us. They just load the box and throw high crosses in, which he won't come for. So, Aldo, I used to like you. Aldo's wrong on so many levels, but
Aldo, Kloss goes before the goalie.
Oh, listen, different debate for a different pod, because we could talk about that for a while.
I don't know whether it is he just doesn't trust the defence. Is it because the defence is chopping and changing in front of him? You know, I don't really know what the problem is, but he's certainly not having the season he would usually have. I mean, you can't really compare it to last season because that was an outlier. That was last season was ridiculous. But even the seasons previous to that, he's letting in a lot more goals, and it's soft goals he's letting in. He's not getting beat. He got beat by Worldies last week, but he's not getting beat by Worldies domestically. But he's losing a lot of goals domestically, so there's something not right. Yeah,
CGM, good evening. Nice to have you with us as always. Scotty, I brought up Aldo's comment there. In current form, you have to drop him.
I wouldn't be surprised if he plays on Thursday, because he's got all the experience in Europe, and then he might get dropped after that. I don't know. On current form, you'd have to look at that. On current domestic form, you'd have to. Because if he played anywhere else, he wouldn't be playing.
Scotty, do you think that's?
I think that's harsh. I mean, look at that Dundee United goal. I mean, that's a packed 6-yard box. I mean,
yeah, but Scotty, they've packed the 6-yard box because they know he's not coming for it.
If they stick near John McLaughlin in there, it's not going to make any difference. They pack the 6-yard box and stick it right on top of the goalkeeper because it's a tactic. It's them being physical.
But McLaughlin will come out for that, and if he cleans out the striker, 2 of his teammates, and the fucking referee, he doesn't care.
McLaughlin doesn't do that. McLaughlin doesn't do that at all. McLaughlin's, if anything, not that far off McGregor in terms of staying on his line as well. Yeah, look, I'm all for the suggestion that perhaps McGregor potentially does need dropping, but the alternatives, McLaughlin and Robin McCrory, for me, aren't that much better, or won't make that much of an influence, or make that much of a difference.
McLaughlin's distribution is a lot better as well.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Colin,
do you know that made a huge difference as well to the game, because McGregor against Dortmund, there was an intent to keep the ball from everyone on the pitch. Against Dundee United, happy to hoof it, wasn't looking for the pass out to the defenders, wasn't looking for the control. That pissed me off. I don't understand the shift in mentality.
Well, I think
because that shapes the 90 minutes as well.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine the rationale behind that is against Dundee United, you have to get up the park in a hurry because they're just going to throw everybody back behind the ball. Dortmund aren't going to do that. Dortmund are going to keep their shape. They're going to keep their 4-3-3 or whatever formation they're playing, whereas Dundee United are going to go 10. And that's it, 10 across the back, and that's your lot. So you need to get up the park in a hurry. I get that. But half the time he kicks it up the park, it goes out for a throw. So it's pointless.
CGM, I agree with you. When we're playing it for the back and McGregor's playing, when anybody does it, I've got the fear. But you're more comfortable with McLaughlin with the ball at his feet. Colin, Wolf mentioned something there about why McGregor's form might have dipped. Do you agree? Is it maybe because the defence is changing so much, or has something else happened? Chris Stewart, sorry, Dibble. Can't have a Rangers goalkeeper conversation without mentioning Andy Dibble. Sorry, Colin, on you go.
It's been a really strange season because I think he started the season poorly, And when Gerrard was there, he was quite poor. But when Gio came in, he had a renaissance for however many games up to the Ross County game. Chucked those 2 away, and then in the Celtic game, he played really well again. So I think McLaughlin might do some things better, but I don't think McLaughlin makes some of the saves McGregor makes when you really need them. It's a difficult one because I think they've both got there. And I think Robbie McCrory did a really good job. I mentioned this on Sunday. I think he was really solid in Europe and against Celtic earlier in the season. He seems to be forgotten about.
Yeah, I think that was more, for me, that was more the circumstances put him in the first team. And he done well in the European game as well against Alish Kertler, we're called, in the Celtic game. But he was always...
That's where did you pull that out from? I completely forgot that. Bravo.
Yeah, I think he was always going to slip back down to third choice when McGregor and McLaughlin were back.
Yeah, you fucked it now, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean,
I was actually
edit that bit out.
I was actually quite disappointed when he got dropped after the Celtic game because he kept a clean sheet, made a couple of saves, didn't do anything wrong, then got dropped. So it must have been quite a blow for him.
Do you know what? See, after, I don't know if it's maybe because of the position with being goalkeeper, but I think after what we've seen when Lowry got dropped, the outcry and everybody was wanting Lowry back in the team, we're screaming out for young players coming through. So, you know, McCrory never done anything wrong. He could have probably stayed in the team, but if he did and he made a mistake in a big game, him and Gerrard at the time both would have been slaughtered for it. So it's maybe just because of the position that as soon as the first two were back, they were back in the team. We'll leave the Allan McGregor chat there. As I say, I don't want to slaughter him. He is a Rangers legend. He's going through a bad patch, but here's hoping he's going to come out it. Going to go on. So we've got a small matter, very small matter, Scotty, of a second leg of a European tie on Thursday night. Confident?
Aye. I mean,
all right, brilliant. Okay, moving on.
Confident that I've got confident and faith in the team, but it's a game of football in 90 minutes, and whatever happened in the first leg happened in the first leg, and whatever happens in the second leg could be a complete reverse, because no matter how well we play, we know that we are coming up against a superior team with superior resources, with also the European football now experience. So it's going to be a tricky football match. I'm confident in the team that they won't let us down. I think they've earned the trust over the years that we should put our trust in them. That said, my mind just went immediately to Malmo. Fuck. Aside from that, yeah, I'm confident they'll put in a performance, and with a 2-goal advantage, I would say it's in our hands, in our favour. Obviously, it's in our hands, but in our favour. And I firmly believe we can put in a similar performance and come away with a similar result if we do what we did. If we play, we disrupt. We play for 90 minutes, we keep in their face and keep the concentration. So I'm excited for it.
Colin, as Andy said there in the comments, would you be more confident, a lot more confident, if Dortmund hadn't got that second goal last Thursday? Does that just put an extra wee seeded out in your mind?
It did. It didn't dampen the night. Obviously, you three were there, and it was obviously a great thing. I just feel that they really need to go for them on Thursday. I think if they sit back and Dortmund get an early goal, it could potentially unravel from there. So I think they really do need to just start and play the whole game like they did last Thursday.
Yeah, we're capable of putting the performance in. We know that. We've proven that. Wilf, Ibrox will be absolutely buzzing all the way up to kick-off on Thursday, right through the game. How important is the Rangers crowd in the right frame of mind going to be?
we as a support are going to be absolutely critical on Thursday. I mean, Dortmund keep trotting out they're used to playing in front of a raucous crowd because they've got 80,000, they've got a yellow wall, they've got all this. They don't have 47,500 raging Rangers fans giving them hell under the lights.
Baying for blood.
We have to be right up for this. I mean, and even, God forbid it happens, but even if Dortmund score first, we still have to get behind the team and just give it. I mean, we're going to be a 2-goal lead. There's no reason we shouldn't come out of this tie and into the hat for the draw on Friday. And if it does start going on, we still need to get behind the team. None of the usual criticism that you get from the stands at Ibrox. The place has to be absolutely rocking from the very first minute you get into the ground to the minute you leave the ground. And I think if it is, we'll get a positive result. We'll get out of there in the hat.
I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, I would take that right now.
Yeah, I'd take it right now. I think that's the important thing for me. And that's sort of what I was hinting at. We are, by our own admission as Rangers supporters, we are bad at getting on the team's back when things start going against us, especially at Ibrox. So we need to keep behind the team, put everything behind them. We need to accept that Dortmund are a top side. They are going to dominate the ball at times. They'll create chances. They need to try and create chances. We need to accept that and understand that's the game we need to play. Scott, as far as preparing for the game goes, is it as it was last week? Is it the same starting 11?
Good question. Is Balogun back?
That's another good question.
He played yesterday.
Yeah. He did,
yeah. I would. I don't know. I think I'd be tempted to bring Balogun back in and stick Bassi at left back. I really would. Other than that, yeah, I'm keeping the same team. That's probably the only change I'd make. I really like seeing Jack and Lundstrom. I think they complement each other absolutely superbly. Might be tempted to bring in Aaron Ramsey if he's available. I'm not sure on the status of Scotty Arfield, whether he's picked up a knock and he's a bit of a doubt. Possibly that would be a more of a forced change than a desired change. But, Kent, Morelos, Uribe cause them all sorts of trouble. And they'll get space again. And these are players that thrive on the space that they get. Extra couple of yards to run at someone, move the ball quickly, run into space. Dortmund will be rightly wary and probably a little bit terrified that we could pick them off again.
Mm-hmm. Collins, Chris Stewart just brought it up in the comments there. Jack and Lundstrom, how key are those two going to be?
Well, I think they showed last week, and I don't think they were as good on Sunday, but I think they were just maybe a wee bit tired from Thursday night because there was a wee bit of slackness. But I think they will up the game again. Something I was going to mention earlier. See, obviously, right wing's been this massive issue for a while. What's your view on kind of where Arfield was playing on Sunday? Because there's not a clear right sider at the moment between Aribo and Arfield. They seem to kind of rotate a wee bit.
Personally, I've said this a few times in the pod now. I think Sakala deserves a run in the team.
Yeah.
Instead of Arfield.
I would potentially put Sakala in for Arfield on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll start, personally.
I think every time he comes on, he offers us something. He's not afraid to take a player on, which I think is massive for us. How many players have we seen over the years, and how many players have we got that just don't want to try and beat a man one-on-one? You get that for Sakala. He plays without fear. He's got the right attitude. Personally, yeah, I think he deserves a chance in the team. Thursday night's a big night. We need to get the selection right. We know Aribo, as he done last Thursday. We know that he can fill in that role. He can play that role comfortably, and he can cause problems. If I was Van Bronckhorst, I probably would be tempted to start Aribo there for that very reason. But overall, on the right hand side, I think Sakala deserves his chance. But I'm no Van Bronckhorst.
Arfield obviously is at his best when he's running in behind, but I don't feel like he did that on Sunday. I felt like he was playing a bit more on the right, and it didn't suit him. So
Yeah, and when Arfield does play, and he's at the top of his game, he's probably one of the best players in the park. Well, we mentioned Jack and Lundstrom there. Lundstrom is, with the exception of Sunday, I didn't think he was too hot, but he's certainly improved the leaps and bounds since the winter break. Does he keep his place in the biggest game of the season?
Yeah, I think he keeps his place. I think I wouldn't be making a lot of changes from last week. I would bring in Balogun if Balogun's fit. I'd bring in Balogun. Move Bassi out to left back. Stick Bonner on the bench. And as I said a minute ago, I might bring in Sakala for Arfield, put Aribo back a little bit, because they're going to come at us and hit us early. So we're going to need pace to run at their defence. The other thing that would possibly consider doing is switching Ryan Kent across the other side of the park, because they're terrified. They looked terrified of him last week, and I'd imagine they'd set up to double up on Kent the whole time. So if Kent's on the other side, that might throw their game plan all over the place. It might not, because they're a very good footballing side. But I mean, I think our pace in attack is going to be critical on Thursday, because they will come at us early. I mean, the guy that scored the second goal on Thursday's already come out after their game on Sunday and said they're looking to score in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So their game plans, they're in black and white for all to see. They're coming at us from the off. And look what happened the last time a team did that. We lost 3-0 across the other end of Glasgow.
Yeah.
We can't afford that to happen, because Dortmund are more than capable of doing that to us if we let them. We just have to make sure we don't let them.
Scott, are you talking to us?
Yeah. Don't mention that. Don't say that, Will.
Got to be realistic, Scott. Got to be realistic.
Yeah.
I've been at this game too long to not look at it realistically.
My only reservation is Aribo defensively. I think in the midfield three, Arfield did so well because he had a lot of energy to get around the park and probably desire. I'm not sure that is really Aribo's game, and asking him to do it probably takes away from the other parts of the game. So I like him actually further up the pitch. Right. The reason why I suggest Ramsey is because his experience, that is his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being box to box very much is his game. Now, if he doesn't have that sharpness, that would tend to show while he's on the ball, not necessarily off the ball, because he is a natural athlete with the lungs to get about the park. Therefore, where we need him, particularly if we know their game plan for the first 15 minutes, it's going to be high energy, and we need to be able to match that. If Aribo's caught a yard or so chasing shadows, that's him out of. It's really difficult to get back into that passage of play or the passages of play thereafter until there is a stoppage or a break, and then you can come back, recompose, and start again. That would be my reservation. But then there's just as much reservation about sticking Ramsey in because, well, we've not seen him from the start. Well, we haven't seen him properly from the start. We haven't seen him tested, so we don't actually know. It's a risk. If Arfield doesn't make it, it's a risk either way.
What about Kamara in for Arfield?
Nah, he's not. I don't think he's earned. He's been so far off the boil.
Yeah,
he's been playing in reverse gear for too long now. He could have offered so much more, but I think he's just got supremely comfortable with the plaudits, and rightly so. I don't think he's checked out, or I think it's just natural complacency from being the team week in, week out for so long.
Davis seems to kind of be just phased out. I don't really think
he might be the joker in the pack on Thursday. He might be the surprise selection on Thursday. Possibly. I noticed he played yesterday against Brentford, so he might, because Davis might just come in out of the cold.
If he's fit enough, yeah.
I think Arfield would be my number one choice for him there, but I just think he's needing a rest. I think he's knackered.
See what Davis gives you as well, and if he sits instead of what we're talking about, that advanced third man in midfield, if he sits a bit deeper, it's not necessarily going to disrupt the patterns of play between Lundstrom and Jack or the nature in which they play, But what it does do is Davies's range of passing is probably the best in the team. So it gives us the opportunity to have a faster transition into space, particularly if we know Dortmund are going to press. But we're going on to tactics now, and I don't really know too much about tactics. So let's move on.
Do you know what? See as we're having the conversation, and I thought this last week as well when we had the same conversation, I thought, you know what? We've went from 6 years ago. We couldn't pick a team. Rangers fans, we couldn't pick a team between us. We couldn't agree on anything because everything was so one-dimensional. We had players that were very similar. We had players that were just absolutely below standard, and we were scratching our heads trying to figure out who was going to offer what to win football matches. But we sat last week and spoke for nearly an hour on team selection. We could probably sit here and talk for an hour on team selection again, because everybody offers something different. Especially in our midfield, when everybody's on their game, it is a selection headache, because what do you go with? Everybody offers something different. Everybody's capable of delivering, whether it be against an Athletic or Borussia Dortmund. The problem we have is getting everybody firing on all cylinders and getting them all delivering at the same time. But
let's be honest, Alan. Sorry to cut across you. Let's be honest, right? If anybody out there, whoever he selects to play on Thursday night, if anybody out there on Thursday night in a Rangers jersey can't get up for it and can't give his all and can't play to the best of his ability in front of the atmosphere that's going to be there on Thursday night, they don't deserve to be playing professional football, never mind playing for Glasgow Rangers. The place is going to be absolutely rocking. And every single one of them, if they can't get a lift from that, then they shouldn't be playing football, never mind playing for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about, and they talk about this 12th man, the sport being the 12th man. I don't always buy into it, but I do believe on nights like Thursday night, we are going to be so important in getting behind that team. Folks, before we go, I want to know everybody's predictions. Colin, I'm going to come to you. Give me a prediction. I want a score line and a first goal scorer.
Oh, I do this with my pal every week, but I wasn't ready for that. We'll go for 2-1. Ooh, Ryan Jack. We'll go for an outlier.
Ryan Jack. Wilf.
Well, you know I never take Rangers to lose a goal, and I'm not going to change that. Although I do fancy them to score. I'll go for 2-0 to Rangers. Matt Hamill's own goal, first scorer.
There we go. And Scotty, predictions.
2-2 Ryan Kent. Dortmund will get 2 in the last couple of minutes, as we're still celebrating.
2-2. I was thinking one each. And my first goal scorer, I'll go for Morelos. Why not? Loads coming through. Andy Horn 2-1 to Dortmund. Just going to remove him for the group chat. 2-1 Rangers, Ryan Kent, Chris Stewart. Yeah, keep your comments coming in, keep your predictions coming in, even after the pod's finished, folks. We'll be with you again, not us personally, but we'll be with you on Thursday night for Scotty. You on?
I am.
Match reaction. You'll see Scotty and a couple of new faces for the match reaction on Thursday night. I hope it's a happy pod.
It's me, JD, and Martin, I believe.
The good omen is that every time I'm on a match reaction, we don't win, so I'm not on it. So
hopefully it's a happy podcast. I checked back actually just I think it was today actually. I watched the match reaction for last Thursday just to cheer myself up, and I loved the smiles on everybody, all the guys' faces, and the laughing, and couldn't take anything they were saying seriously, but that's normal for a Rangers Rabble podcast. But hopefully it's the same again this Thursday coming. So folks, thank you again. Remember and hit the like and subscribe button. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.